Oh. Hmm. Hi, I am Dr. Brenda Jean Power, and the doctor represents metaphysics, the nature of being. So, what are you being today? What are you being in this next moment? Do you live in the future? Do you live in the past? Do you live in the present? And this is Medicine Woman Soultion Show, where your soul has the solution. So, the solution is Soultion. And I wanted to talk today about having certain experiences. For instance, um, I've had this happen several times throughout my life, and I've not had it in such a long time, but just a couple days ago, I did. And have you ever met an angel? Have you ever been in the presence of one? Have you ever communicated, talked to, or even touched an angel? So, the first time I had my encounter, of course, I didn't know it. But when I came to knowing that I knew, was a very particular point in my life. I didn't really have good self esteem. I knew that I was on the path of helping my mother stay alive. And so, religion and things like that was very important to me. And I didn't want my mother to die. She was diagnosed with cancer. And um, I did my best to make her happy. Now, again, it's not my job. I only can enhance the experience. But she was very scared. I did my best so that she wasn't alone. And so we were at the mall. I just got done taking her to oncology for her radiation treatment. And she wanted to not go home. And I said, okay, how about if we go to the mall? And nobody had any money. Um, Being poor usually means you don't have money. But the mall was like just like right across the road or so. So we went there for a different atmosphere. And she could only walk so far. And then we sat down and we're sitting down in front of a Bible store. And I said, well, I'm going to pop in real quick. And I didn't have a dime to my name. I had to use it for gas. I had to use it for many things, but I still felt like I was drawn in there. So I go in there and I find this cute little book. It's about this big, really thin. It was The Power of the Tongue. And um, like, how do you speak? How do you communicate with God? How do you? And I was like, oh my gosh. And which, when I find usually a book that just like speaks to you, and I'm looking at it and looking at it and trying to memorize it because we didn't have phones back then where you could take pictures. I didn't have a pen and paper. So in my mind, I'm sitting there trying to think of this, how am I going to memorize this title? Who's the writer? Um, Again, you couldn't look things up on the internet. And so I'm trying to memorize this thing that I read inside the package, into the side inside this book. There's just like this one little line. And I put it down and I had to try to walk away to memorize it, and then I couldn't think of it, and oh no, oh no. I ran back, picked it up again. So I was firing and wiring without realizing. And so by the third time that I thought, oh no, because fear was taking over, and I picked up the book again, this beautiful, beautiful woman, okay? And she was, dark colored skin, beautiful voice, and she's loved her hair. Oh my God. But anyways, out of the blue, she's standing right there. And it's a human. But when humans raise their hand to allow angels to come through, it has a different sense, a different tone, a different smell, and a different ring. So she's standing there, and I knew that this wasn't just a beautiful woman standing next to me. But I'm all frustrated. My mother has got cancer. I have to drive 2.5 hours back and forth to take care of my mother because I live 2.5 hours away. But I wanted to make sure I was there for her because nobody else was volunteering, and we had a lot of kids that could volunteer, but I just felt like it was my duty. So I wasn't really present. I was inside my head. I was my 95% of my program. I'm worrying. I'm in fear. I'm doing my best to memorize this passage because it was so inspiring that I wanted to be able to say, okay, Mom, let's do this. Let's try this. And and as she started striking up a conversation about the book in my hand, and she says, "Oh, the minister that wrote that, blah 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 blah." I go, "Uh huh." And then when she said that, I thought, "Oh," and the next thing you know, the passage came in my head, and I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm remembering this, right?" And then it was so quick, but it was a conversation that it drew me out of my head and into that present moment with her. And next thing I know, I thought, okay, I gotta go because I saw my mother coughing up a lung. She had lung cancer. And I'm like, oh God, my mom needs me. So I put the book down. And next thing I know is I'm starting to head for the door. She goes, wait, 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 wait. And I said, what? She says, you forgot your book. I says, oh no, I didn't pay for it. So no, it's not my book. And she says, no, it's your book. And she went up to the counter. This makes me want to cry. And she gave the person the money. It was only $12.95, but it was $12.95 I didn't have. And she says, she paid it. She says, yes, it is your book. And I wanted to cry right there on the spot. And it's just like, oh my God, you have no idea how important this is to me. And God, I don't know where this is coming from. Do I need to heal it? Apparently I do. So we'll get to that. It's in the spleen where I can't do this. I can't afford it. I can't do this. Anyway, it was just so beautiful. I'm looking at the book, I'm looking at her, and I'm just saying, thank you, thank you. And it was more of a desperation, thank you. It was just like, oh my God, I'll give you my life type thing, and she says, oh, no problem. And she says, enjoy the book. And then I turned to my mother, Mom, you're not going to believe what just happened. Because, I didn't steal it. And I turned around so I could say, Mom, this beautiful woman, and I didn't get your name. Anyway, she's gone. Couldn't find her. And I'm like, and it was like, that was when my spiritual being was going, you just met an angel. And at that time, my mind was, oh, they show up like that. And it was more than that. They show in I didn't realize it at the time of the sound and the smell that they give off. And the presence is completely different. So I've had this happen a few other times. So, it helped me know that I was supposed to be here in Australia. Another time it was to name my business and a few other events, but I was just, I mean, so here I'm at the health food store, and I know that my body, because you're supposed to believe in old age. Well, I don't really believe in old age. I believe in not having to say just because I'm a number that I gotta die. Oh, I forgot to record. Okay, I'll record now. And so here I am. I need to repair my body. So I do know that menopause is real. I know that that means a shifting of the hormones. Some equipment don't work anymore, and but other parts of your body. So even though I don't have my uterus or my ovaries that to make the estrogen, other parts take over, and so the adrenals take over. Well, I already had adrenal burnout, and when that happens, the cortisol for me doesn't ever shut off. So now I got cortisol poisoning. And so the combination of not really having any feminine estrogen for so long, for now it's been over 30, so since 33, and so now I'm 58. You do the math. And so I've been in the last year, I've been stretching and exercising, and I haven't been able to really stretch because my hips, to be able to do what I wanted to do, is my learning how to do the splits and all these things, had to stop because the pain was unbearable. Not while I was doing it. It was like when I tried to lay down at night to sleep. The pain in my hips would keep me from sleeping and repairing, because when you sleep, you can begin to repair. And so anyway, I'm on this journey of finding what to take. So met up with a naturopath doctor. And so he says, oh, start putting wild yam, progesterone, I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not going to say it, but the stuff that's in it. And he says that should help lessen the pain. And then he says, then we're going to help you take care of your adrenals to help you with, start eliminating stress. And I'm thinking, if you knew me, I don't really have a lot of stress. I don't really have a lot of stress. And he's like, well, you have to. And I'm like, that's the thing. The way I handle stress is way different than somebody else. So my body was, when I lived in Michigan, the environment, the lifestyle, I was dying, and I couldn't do that anymore. And so Spirit had guided me to here, and I'm thriving. And the doctor, Pete, was an awesome doctor, and still is. And thank God for, he uses a feedback machine and his knowledge. I have really not been in a lot of pain. So I've had to get a new mattress that was softer for me, so that my joints, because the joint the poisoning to your joints, the breaking down. So anyways, I have to get all this repaired, and I've been doing it, right? And so Doc Pete says, oh my gosh, you're improving. This is awesome. What are you doing? Do more of it, and such and such. And so I'm standing there, and I'm going in, I'm like, okay, I know exactly the regimen I have, and I have that, so I don't need to buy that, but I still feel like something's missing. So I feel like I needed to buy collagen. And collagen with vitamin C help to repair the tendons. And I know that my tendons have been under attack and being poisoned by my body. And so as my adrenals are helping me to produce estrogen, because I don't have the other requirements, but my adrenals are already compromised from adrenal fatigued. And so my whole body is like, oh, you're out of whack. And so I'm standing there, and I reach up, because Spirit says, okay, I got to start taking fulvic acid, the trace minerals and all the stuff that comes with it. Because I started noticing it was improving my nail beds, because I was getting a lot of ridges, and that usually means B12, but it means a lot more. And so when I started taking fulvic acid, that started to disappear along with B12. And then, so I'm reaching up, and there's a guy standing right in front. He's got a mask on. He's got one set of glasses, and then he has to have another set of glasses because he can't see up close. So he's got two glasses, a mask. And I reached in front of him, and because he was reading on something, and the aisles are like really tiny. So I said, excuse me, I got the bottle. And he says, oh, what is that? And so I says, well, I'm not knowledgeable enough to really tell you. I says, but I know that what it's been doing for me and all of this. And then he's like, well, how about, oh, this? And he pulls this off. And then I'm thinking, maybe he thinks I'm a worker here because he's asking questions. And then all of a sudden, it was like I had that sensation from head to toe, not goose pimples. This was totally different. And I started noticing not, okay, so you can physically smell something. This isn't that kind of smell. It's like spiritually smelling. It's the knowing that I know how to do what I do. And all of a sudden I realized it smelled like a bouquet of flowers, but not, again, I don't know how to express this. Like I could pick this up and go, coffee. No, this is a spiritual nose. And it went, flowers. But I also had spiritual ears. So what I was hearing was a different ring. And it's like a choir ring. So my brain was associating an angel with particular choir sounds. And so all of a sudden, I'm like, oh. So my mind and I'm like, oh, this is just a man. He maybe thinks I work here. So I explained I didn't work here, but he just kept talking. And again, now I'm spiritually, my eyes are beginning to see something different. So this man had volunteered to let the angel speak to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. So at this point, now it's got my attention. And he's talking more about this fulvic acid. And then he goes, what about the microbiome inside your gut? And I said, oh yeah, I've been working on that too. And he goes, have you ever tried insula? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So the next thing I says, I just take this other, the pre and probiotics, and it's a combination. And so I went over there and the bag's gone. So the shelf, it's empty. And he goes, well, this is the one I'm talking about. And then all of a sudden I'm like, pay attention to what he said. So I bought the 2 items that he referred to. Because when spirit really wants to get your attention, you can have incredible moments. I mean, I have had incredible moments in my life that has led me to my joy. Okay. And so it was such a beautiful experience that, and then of course I turn around and what do? They're no longer present in that person, or the person will disappear altogether. I'm like, but it's a tiny store. So I found that fascinating. Have you ever had angel incidences? Have you had this particular thing ever occur for you? I remember the first few times I just kept that to myself because it's like, that sounds like I'm loony. But I've had, here's the unique thing. It's not just in person. I've had somebody call me over the phone. I've had conversations just in text. And you still can smell and hear, and the deep knowing that it went from a person to an angel. And so you perk up and you listen because there's something that they're saying to you very unique. And my brain in my filing cabinet has this definition, and to put it into English words to help you may not be always easy, but I hope I did my best to explain it to you. So that was my last couple of days. And you may notice that on my set, I have a fox, a phoenix. I went to a Harry Potter expedition. And so I had to get the little baby to match my. I'm like, how do I get him in the screen so that he can still be, can still be important in this whole thing? So, and I should check. Probably not many people here. So I've been asked to look at why I'm still doing the energy of feeling like I'm alone, or the message is not getting out. And you can say, oh, it's because it's the advertising, or it's this, and it's not just that. So a bit of insight of how I learn. Spirit will guide me to do certain things, and I'm listening to something very specific on YouTube, and it feels like my nose is running for some reason. I have no idea why. And I hear this conversation as I'm busy doing something. And if I keep my ego busy, then I can spiritually begin to hear more uniquely. And what I did, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen Dr. Maya, I'm going to butcher her name, Bialik. Anyway, she was on the Big Bang Theory while she went on to get her doctorate. And then she played the character of Blossom as well. And anyway, she's always fascinated me. She's always fascinated me as a human being and an actor and all of that. And so she has this wonderful podcast. So I'm listening to one of her podcasts. And when you talk about the vagus nerve, the vagus nerve just runs through the whole body. And I also been studying voice bio, or the way your voice, the tone, the pitch, all of it. So if I'm really excited, you're going to be able to hear this. It'll produce a certain amount of rhythmic musical notes that are in a frequency, but also in a vibration of calmness or excitement or happiness. But it's healthy for the body. Now, if I talk about the stress mode, oh my God, the other day when I was out in public, and I'm talking, and in my voice, my pitch, my tone will all change, and the musical notes will then show a very stressful. Like if you've ever watched a scary movie, it goes from, oh my God, the music sets it up so it can scare you. But the moment you hear like a Harry Potter tune, you're like, oh, it sets off a different type of hormones, that one that can support you and another not. And he was saying, oh, they finally have gotten proof about how the tone of your voice can, and I can't remember what his rest was, but all of a sudden Spirit goes, yeah, what about the tone in your head when you haven't spoken out? So the tone, so let's say I'm having a conversation with somebody and it seems exciting. I'm happy to be here. But inside, I have this different voice that goes, oh my God, I got to go through this again. It has a different tone, a different pitch. And these voices that sound like you, but what they are programs of, I've been here before. I don't want to do this again, or however you want to do it, whatever habit we have. So these voices are programs that we have to look at, dismantle, or change the definition of. We have to take the chemical peptide off of those extreme experiences so the memory can be a memory, and you can start to have your life force and come back into the now. But that tone, so I've been studying the scalar field, and this is, so MWS looks directly at that scalar field, and it is the energy that is crossing your aura. Okay, so here's your aura, and here's somebody else's aura. And what happens when you have this Venn difference? Okay, the problem is that a Venn difference is, what do you have in common that's here, right? But the problem is that as I've been studying it, it is, here I am, and if I have an untold story, or a story that is continued but it hasn't created resolution, or patterns and habits of, if somebody yells at me, then I'm going to shut down, or if somebody hands me something, I'm supposed to take it. But here it says live visible restriction. Good Lord. And it's say, my live does not contain the content mentioned. So here is this relationship of energy. And so I have my habits, my programs. And so if a signature shows up that is like bossy or alpha or condemning or scorning. So if a person comes up, even though they don't say it, but they have this, they exude this particular energy that comes off, my body will go on these programs and habits and strategy to survive. And then I will respond that way. So I have been healing my own shit inside, but I also been healing the stuff that is in between. And it's the scalar field of relationship with people. Well, what about the tone in your head versus the outward appearance of where you're smiling and you're happy and you're joyful and hi, Robin. And it's like, what do you do? And when you meet up with a particular program, you will eventually, you can start building resistance walls without wanting to. So like there was this person that told a joke and everybody just busted out laughing. It was so funny. And then this person told the joke again. And it was, some people were like, oh, I heard that. I don't really want to laugh, but it's still funny. So I'll laugh. And then hear it again. They're like, oh, just tell a different joke. And sometimes when you have been in relationships with people, you can build up this intolerance because it's not to the person, it's to the program. And you don't know how to communicate with the program, or you do know how to communicate if you play games or you play maneuvers and you are not really in the relationship like a soulful one is versus a human one is. And when a lot of humans will just come together and their emotions will be like, oh, that hurts. I can't stand it. I hate you. Or, oh, they're not doing what I want. I better parent them, or I better come up with a way so that they're, and it's like to be with somebody, to let them be themselves. You have to decide whether or not are you investing that this is irritating you. Your response is your responsibility. And your response is and you need to be accountable for the tone that isn't coming out of your face. Don't look at me with that tone. Maybe you're rolling your eyes, or maybe you're covering it up, but there is always this tone that comes out of your mouth. Have you ever been accused of, oh, stop saying that, or you're mean, why'd you say that? When you're like, what do you mean? I didn't say it that way. But because you've been so exposed to it when you're little, that all of a sudden you are in a relationship and you say this and it comes out like cruel and mean, you don't realize those are the things you can't see or hear until you learn how to be a spirit, to pay attention to how you spoke or the response that somebody gave you. And so you're looking at them going, why did they react that way? So certain programs have their own tone of voice. Your automatic responses have their own tone of voice that could hurt a relationship. Okay. And the tone of voice. So part of my studies was watching this person to develop a particular thing all about the musical voices, and how if you were to take that musical note that maybe you're missing, like C and B are more physical. And so if I were to figure out I may be missing B, and so I will do the acts of B, which is to physically to overcome my fear, or because you're meant to learn a lesson, because your voice changes when you have shifted that perception, that perspective, that relationship and habit with the particular thing you're doing. And when you do, and that lesson's learned and it's resolved and you have evolved, your tone will be different. But if you are not paying attention, you may have to show up in that particular tone to somebody else. The question is do you want to? And this is where I've been also studying about the 4 parts of, there are 4 characteristics. And if you listen to Jill Bolte Taylor, she, beautiful, beautiful. But she is a neuroscience, and she was studying the brain, and then she had a stroke, and then she got to experience the brain the live actual experience of having a stroke. What's the conversation between the left, right, and right side of the brain? But she went deeper besides left and right. She went into the quadrants of mental and emotional in the left and right. And she found that there was 4 characteristics. So she's come up with this wonderful book to help you understand that you can shift your life by paying attention to which character you're in. And so I watched somebody be in a particular character, and I paid attention to my reactions, my knee jerks, to, automatic. I mean, these automatic habits, even if there's a delay and you still got on your nerve and you still respond, like that's still your accountability. And so learning tools like SP and all of this has helped me, so I don't have to respond in that mindset, that negative, pessimistic mindset, or that nocebo effect of negativity. It's like, but you don't have to play or participate. And that helped me explain what had happened when I had a relationship where I was constantly being gaslit. And it was like, I didn't know it, but I just know that my reaction was that I felt like the victim, and I was always getting shut down. I'd always be in freeze mode or in run mode. And I'm like, and it feels hopeless as a spirit being. But when you learn the tools and you start to shift the brain and the chemistry of the brain, you can see things differently, and you can switch yourself into these different character modes, and you can begin to show up more as a soulful person than you are just a program and a habit. Anyway, if any of you heard me before, you would be able to follow along just fine. I just thought it was important that we listen to this particular tone. So when I'm doing your reading, I realize there's a part of me that's picking up these tones that you are responding in or living in, or just being the program in. And so, like, if you're stressed, I can look back and see what meridian you're in, and then the story of the emotion, the chemical peptide that's in your cells. Because if you were to understand that this, let's say this rock represents your cells, and you're made up of 50 trillion cells, okay? And it has a receptor point on it that says, I will be whatever this chemical is. So if I wanted to be angry, it would plug it in, and this would turn on, and then my whole body would start to react in an anger sense. Now, if I calm down, switch perspectives, let's say I'm so angry and all of a sudden caught my eye, what? Then I switch this perception, and I'm no longer, so this will unlock, and anger will go away, because now I'm over here with curiosity or joy or whatever, but that issue is just going to get buried, or that's not my concern anymore. So we get to be in charge of what keys get locked into our cells and how we vibrate in and out of existence. But it's like you have to become more aware of when you're doing that tone, when the body's doing that tone. And so I was thinking about why do we all look so different, or hold like more weight on ourselves, or we have to struggle. These are all about belief systems and values and habits. So my mind has been gathering and setting aside and building, because that's part of my purpose. I was watching a TV show, and it says we can't have it all. Being a businesswoman and love, because you got to give a lot of attention to one and sacrifice the other. But that's not always the case. It's about the belief systems and what you're completely focused on. But somebody says, well, do I have to give that up to have love? And no, you have a purpose. And if you are enjoying what you do, and you then say, okay, no, this career is really interfering, I want love, because I don't have love, I have to sacrifice. These are belief systems. And so if you were to ditch the career and take on the love, the problem is that you still have to find a purpose. You have to reinvent yourself. You have to it's not just enjoying life and doing your day to day. You eventually are going to go, okay, I'm over that. I need to find purpose, something I need to do, something that interests me, something that develops me, because this is part of not the wanting. It is a desire aspect, a spiritual desire. And this desire is what helps you motivate you to grow and to develop and to become. Now, the thing is that can you heal what you've already constructed that you thought was your life, but you no longer fit in it? And you have to deconstruct certain things, whether it's a relationship, a career, location. So different path switch will come into play. Okay. It's awfully quiet here today. We have Amy that's coming on. She's paid, and April Lynn has paid. And then we have a pay it forward from Autumn to a friend. And then Autumn has also paid for a reading for herself. So is there anybody here that is that wants a reading, that you've never had one from me before? Okay, you have not had one from me before. And so these readings are to help you to evolve in your life, to calm down. Well, if you've never had them before, the first one will be free. It'll be for a few minutes. Now, if you want a healing with that, I can give you a point, or I can help guide you. Otherwise, you can't see it, but it is 5, 15, or 25. 25 is so that if you wanted to come on for video or just audio. 15 is a chat where, a little bit longer experience. So, Crystal, yes, you're giving me permission to give you a reading, and I will do that as long as I want to make sure that we are in alignment of this. Now, I don't cross energies. Your stuff, your energy, loved one comes in, your soul talks to me, but there's all these different things that show that I again, it's just, I'm like sitting here and it'll show up as my blueprint. The question is what do you want me to address or to look at? Because if your mind is focused on something and your soul wants to work on something else, you may not understand how it's related. So we do want some form of, does it make sense to you? Does it resonate with you? Okay. Love and career. Okay. So okay, this is where I want love, or I have love, or career. And the thing is that your career is about your purpose, finding out what you love. And if you are over here feeling I don't have love, then you're not going to be able to focus on the career you want. Now, if you do have a career, but then you want love, then you are not really want to focus on this career. You're going to find love. So you have to find it within inside yourself. Okay. This combination is that I can have both. So there's belief systems. So Spirit is telling me that we're going to show the thing that's going to help you overall. Spirit says, pay attention to the fact that you have, like, there's safety, security, stability, sanity, surrounding space. Now, a lot of people that don't feel secure, don't have stability, will go out and especially women are taught to go out and find a mate so that you can feel stable and safe and secure. So out of the 6 S's, stability, they said that the stability, there is a certain thing that you do over and over, very habitual, that has a lot to do with self-abuse, being mean to yourself, communicating negatively to yourself, beating yourself up. So what is part of your mindset on this? Because I'm looking at how when you don't really feel stable, and I says, what do you mean by that? And they go, sometimes emotionally stable. If I don't feel emotionally stable, then everything around me will, it might piss people off, or they get hysterical, or always some type of drama. But when that happens, I can't help but to go in and get upset and to be mean to myself and blame myself. So do you have a lot of guilt and shame? Do people produce this? Do they manifest this? I don't have someone at the moment, but career-wise, I've applied for a Ph.D. and I want to know my success rate. Okay, so to answer that, you have got to decide, do you believe in yourself? Do you have self-esteem? Because the more that you have self-esteem, then it changes your success rate. If you're going to go for it, you will have a success rate. But if you have low self-esteem and these negative thinking, then you are going to probably have a good self-esteem or good outcome, but you will beat yourself up and won't see it. Because again, how do you see things? It used to be super unstable, but I think I'm better now. Okay, so if you want a very success rate, you have to take care of the root. Now, you are great right now. You're like, this is good. But what triggered you? What set you off? What unresolved issues? This is what I'm here for. And see, the thing is they're saying that there's a part of you that feels um, like I have karmic debt. I have to, so what is your definition of karma? And because they're saying that there's a part of you that believes that you have to always be in a dark night of the soul, that there's like a certain regimen that I have to have. So this is what's called a strategy of how we function as a human. And all I can tell you is, if I said, if you were to take care of these particular emotions and learn how to be in charge of these emotions and how to dissolve them, then would you, yeah. Ah. So these particular emotions have protected you. They helped you become passive. Okay, and I says, what do you mean? And they said that I've been in situations where I could be aggressive, I could be talking, I could be doing this, but it's the way they've acted, the way they've responded, that my survival means that I need to become passive. Huh. Okay. And so you have to look at your responses, and this is what your soul is saying to develop, because this is part of how you function every single day. And they said that if you can become more in charge of this, I said, so what emotions, out of all emotions, the self-imposed limitations, you limit yourself. Like you have a conversation with somebody and they don't like that part of you, even though there's nothing wrong with you. Oh, thank you. Even though there's nothing wrong with you, then all of a sudden what happens is that if you had somebody say something, you automatically will stop yourself. You'll do self-imposed limitations instead of, because you were going to go for it, but they commented and you're like, they planted the seed of doubt. You believed it is real, and therefore you stop yourself. And then you think you can't have it, in which then you silently brood. So there has to be this part of your emotional maturity that needs to come into play. So we don't have to believe every time somebody says something. We don't need to believe in these seeds of doubt. Does any of this make sense to you? They said that you're new to certain types of healing, but the mental anguish can get to you. I'm going to tell you the best way that you can take care of this is that you need to begin to know how to measure. I feel like you're quite new to this world as far as healing goes. Look at for something emotional freedom technique. I have it on my website, and then OMG, that's on my website. They're free. But to learn to measure, to learn to catch when you're believing a belief system, I hate myself. Is it true? And you're like, yes, on a scale from 0 to 10, the experience of the emotions right then, it's a 10, and it's true, and it's too much. Well, that's where you go. Even though I hate myself, I deeply and completely love myself. And then you go through this whole regimen. And the reason why I tell you to go to my site is because I got the longer version, which includes your left brain and the right brain. And the pictures and the sounds will help you break up this particular habit and program. But you got to learn how to measure. The other thing is that you're losing so much blood. 80% of the blood leaves a person's forebrain. This is for pretty much everybody that handles stress. You have two stress responses. One particular here, the blood will leave the forebrain because this is how you create reality. But now you can't think because you're in fight, flight, freeze, collapse, for anything. It's like fawning, whatever it is, because you got to survive. And so it goes into your limbs and in your arms and your legs. And so by putting your hand on your forehead, learning to to keep it there while you have this negative state, the blood will come back into the forebrain and it will help calm you down so you can think better. Because when you're stressed, everything is askewed. You have to delete, distort, generalize. You have to go to conclusions. You have to survive. You have to do this. The other part is that stomach area where the blood comes out and goes to the limbs, and then the body is like, oh my God, and has to wait until you're out of stress so that it can start to nourish itself, take care of itself. And yeah. You want to learn more, you can watch any video on YouTube. You can re-listen to this reading by going to YouTube and look at Medicine Woman Soultion. Remember, it's SOULTION, Medicine Woman Soultion. Subscribe, that'd be great. But your name will be next to, and you can't see it, but I have a clock that's behind me. And so your timestamp will be the timestamp on the clock. Now, the reason why she got more minutes. No, sometimes you need to explain, especially if they're quite new. Okay, so here's the thing. She says, well, what does this mean for my love life, though? So in this moment, how do you feel about your love life? If you're not watching how your emotions affect or how your thoughts affect you, and you believe that all men are jerks, it'll be like sitting in the GPS, setting it up, and then you're going to have to get proof that you're right. If you are feeling emotionally unstable, then it's going to be, hey, I'm happy right now, I can do this, but what triggered you to be emotionally unstable? You have to heal these triggers. Otherwise, you're going to look at past relationships and you can just rinse and repeat. You pick up how things happen and you can put it in the future and you slide in because it's familiar and this is what you know. Well, you've got insecurity. So your insecurity is going to stop you and make you repeat the past. She says, I do like a guy, but I'm not sure if I should reach out to him. Well, if you are letting fear, see, that statement alone tells me that you're letting the seed of doubt affect you. You're letting fear control you. The question is you like this guy. All right, I'm going to walk up and be brave. He doesn't like you back. He didn't really reject you. You don't know whether you're completely aligned up or not. But if you, by not speaking, you don't really get to know. And sometimes people will pass up an opportunity. Get it over with. Find out. Do you like me? Hey, are you interested? I'm finding, communication. People don't know how to communicate. They let fear, seed of doubt affect them. They do gameplay. They will set up different events. Our TV shows, movies tell you this, but that is so complicated and dramatic. I'll go up and I talk, and if they show no interest, but if I'm constantly thinking they don't like me, then I'm only going to see my own thoughts, and I'm only going to, and they may be nervous and scared because we assume that men are strong, but men have emotions just like we do. And then when you take that fallacy, the way that you're taught that men are supposed to be this, this, and this, and when you don't see that, or you go up to a person and they're just as scared about love as you are, well, why didn't they make the first move? Well, they're not always supposed to make the first move. Well, mannerisms and things like that in the past told you that this is, yeah, but we don't live there anymore. If you really want somebody, don't be fake. If they don't like who you are now, then you hiding it will just turn around and you'll run out of steam. And all of a sudden that stuff will pop up. My mother taught me a big thing. She says, they showed me what I wanted to see. I fell for it. And then as soon as the ring's on the finger, their true self comes out and we are a mismatch. And that's exactly what we have got to stop doing. Well, look at your belief system. Where did you learn that from? What era, what century? It's like, I think because now people are like, women shouldn't chase. But why do they get to write your life? Why do they get to take your pen and say that these are the ethics, the rules, no. If you attract it in, you're not chasing, you're communicating. This guy liked me, but he was afraid to talk to me. Well, I end up talking to them. The next thing you know, it was Oh, they had no idea you liked communication. You need communication. Without it, it just keeps playing these gameplays. It keeps making you miss opportunities. And stop listening to what other people tell you. Where did they learn it? And where did they learn it? And if you're told that you have to limit yourself or you have to do all this, how's their life working out for them? Most of the time, you will always have somebody walking around as trauma and drama, and they are trying to teach that, oh, this is the right way to do it, when it's not. I had somebody in my life that both their kids were in jail, and then they're trying to tell me that this is how I should raise my kids, and I look at them like, what makes you think you're the expert? Because you've gone through it, but you're telling me what? Yeah, no, I don't need to take. I can listen with you to you. You know, you can talk expert, but are you really? Honest to God, are you really? And so sometimes you got to move beyond and see and hear things differently. You got to eventually change who taught you to believe these things, and why do you have to keep following this rule? Why does it keep shutting down on me? Don't know. Because well, my thing keeps shutting down because that's what happens, is that if you don't know what you're doing, you'll end up shutting down. Oh, waiting for the darn screen to come up. Well, that was the problem. Oh, there's everybody. Hi, how are you? How are you doing? Okay, so April Lynn, are you still here or are you gone now? I'm going to give her reading since she's paid. That's what I was missing. Yeah. I forgot to tell people that I was on, didn't do a show last week because we went away, and we went to Melbourne, and you're welcome. We enjoyed just being visitors, and we got to eat next to the water, and the city lights just really made everything beautiful at night. And the sights and the scenes and the different places that we visited were all these experiences that made it wonderful. And it gave me an idea because I rented a loft, which is cheaper than a hotel room. So it's Airbnb or something like that. But it was right downtown, close to the railroad station, and so I got to feel what it's like if I had an apartment in town. And I like where I live, where it is more quieter and traveling to. Okay, there she is. So we might have a little delay. Hey, Amber, how are you? Okay. So when oh God, my whole body. So I'm looking at myself physically. Um, whoa! Immediately, it was like I had a bladder, or I had to go to the bathroom. Or my whole body just did a whole funky doodle thing. So they're telling me to look at something physical, and I'm like, okay, did I bring the papers in? And so that becomes the question: did I? Hey, Brenda, how are you? I'm doing awesome. I am having a great day. I choose it. And I choose it. I choose how I want to show up. Now, I'm not sure where my little tiny papers went. That's okay. So we're going to do something a little different for Miss April Lynn. So I'm going to look at the body, the physical form, and I'm looking at for something very specific. And hopefully they'll tell me. So we're going to, oh, there goes my camera. Knocked it down. Beautiful. Okay. Okay. I don't need my whole camera to fall here. Okay. We're looking at blood cells, and we're going to look at the immunoglobulin M, the IgM. Now, first of all, you're like, what's that? And you may already know. But it says that it develops in the blood in response to contact with certain antigens in food or bacteria. It makes up about 6% of the antibodies and activates complement as well. Activates kind of the we're going to look at something that has to do with an old infection, something in the body. So if you had some old infection. So I'm now going to look at where they want me to do with this and why is this an issue. So why does the IgM is a story? And they said, well, this has a lot to do with how the body, so this is where would this old infection would, so in the past, we're looking at like 33 years old and 34. They're showing me two distinct time periods. And like the infection was in regret and love was a weapon. And it has to do with constantly being silently brooding. So we're going to look at a habit. So somebody hurt your feelings, or somebody's gaslighting you, or somebody is trying to, play maneuvers because they don't know how to communicate. And however it is, the body is saying that how you felt about it before was you did not know that bonding with somebody was, this is the way you played. This is the way things happen. They're saying that love was a weapon. They would, to get you to do something, they would use their love and do a seed of doubt, and they would finally get you to feel maybe a little aggravated or whatever, and then they would give to you would end up giving them how they want it. So it was like love is a weapon. And they said the one thing is that when that would happen, you were so used to giving and doing what they wanted, and all of this, they said that, because I'm going to give her a little extra time because she had paid last week and I forgot to tell her. Your body is saying that there's sitting anxiety, and the anxiety that's sitting there is saying that I have to, oh God, how do I want to explain this? It's still happening. It's still going to happen again and again and again. And therefore, this is not good. This is actually bad. And so like when we look at the word antigens, it's the substance that trigger in an immune response in the body. Okay. Your body says it's still feeling the particular triggers that would aggravate you. So the body, and to some degree, that your immune is responding to this. And so I said, what is your immune system doing when it gets exposed to how I am not doing this again? So I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. And I said, are you aware when you say it? And they go, it is in the deficiency that I'm so used to it that I don't even be aware that I have these particular thoughts. Hopefully, April, you're hearing me. April. Now, what's funny is that I now have got to look at this. Miss Amy, could you tell me who I'm doing the reading for? I'm just going to wait a second. Yes, thank you. Okay. I'm back on track. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, your body, even though the body says I don't have this, but I have, okay, so we want you to wake up to how the body is responding is as if, so we're saying, what do you want to resolve? And they said one of the things that she needs to resolve is that she has to begin to notice when her body goes into defense mode. Now, she may not be completely, so she may not be, but her body is. Okay, so the body is saying, I went there because I'm seeing. And I said, what is the body seeing? What is the nerve seeing? And they said, when a person begins to know that they're not going to get that from me, know that their tactics is different and it's wrong and it's changed, knowing that, so when the person is not going, because you now have gone to the point where I don't want to give that to you. I don't want to act the way I used to do. So now the body is saying, but I can feel how they feel that they're not getting, and I can feel it. So I'm going into a defense. And because the thing that I feel the most is that I can feel them being defensive, and I then become defensive, and then I have to protect myself, even though I'm mentally and emotionally not really going there, my body. So I'm looking at your body going, they are aware that you didn't do. And the body is saying, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. And I says, what do you mean? And it says, the body says, well, I learned this helplessness. My nerves are still doing this. And I may be mentally and emotionally not doing it, but I need to begin to do this. The circle of the chase. Yes. Okay. So now I said, so what would be the best angle to help her body so her nerves do not have to keep doing this? And they said, well, there was a tone. She needs to pay attention to the tone, whether it's a tone of the face, or a tone of, or scorning tone. But it's like, when they about ready to become defensive because of you not doing what they were trying to get you to do. They know it's not working. And anyways, the body, so what happens is that, so we want you to make sure you do R1D, right wrist, first position, deep, because the body still wants to go into self imposed limitations. So I said, well, to help you notice this, they said, you have to notice how they're going into defense, how and even though you may not be doing it, the body is saying, oh, yeah, I do. I have to silently brood because I know that they don't like it. But even though I'm fine and I'm moving forward, but my body is just like, ugh. So R1D, because you're like, I'm not playing this, I'm moving on. But the body says, I'm still stuck doing the way you first time you responded. So we want to then add R1S because the familiarity of the defense and the trickery. And even though you're not responding the same way, the body is saying, I haven't let that go. So R1D and R1S, because you have to build a different relationship skill. And your nerves are saying, I haven't done that. And so even though you're developing social skills and you're changing, it's not necessarily changing. And they said they need you to pay attention to when, especially when people get very self-centered and their ego, it throws you off and throws you out of your center of self. Maybe not emotionally and mentally, but physically, it's like gone there. I said, what else could we help to so the body doesn't have, and I'm going to throw this in, and if you've ever heard of repulsion compatibility, so the body is saying that my magnetism is not strong. Instead of it being strong, it is, so you may want to try with magnets in your field, put them in your shoes, however you want to do it. But I would also say repulsion compatibility. I said, what would be the thing that you'd want to put on this piece of paper, maybe put over your belly button, is that I'm irrelevant. And when they get defensive, I feel more irrelevant. You can put irrelevant and they're defensive. And you place it on your belly. It's the 4 breaths. You got to do 2 rounds for each one, and then the tapping. So it is, you hold that on, if you choose the thymus, that's fine too, belly button or thymus, but the stress point of your body is over like the belly button area, 2 inches below, or 2 finger widths below the belly button. But anyway, right there. And you would You breathe in and hold your breath. And then you breathe out, hold your breath. See, as you notice, I'm doing 2 rounds, and then it goes panting. And then normal breathing. And I usually do about 3 or 4 on that. You want to do it several times. There's a sequence of rubbing, and they are the Nate points. If you haven't seen it, give me a second and I will grab a picture, send it to you right now so that you do this afterwards. And anyway, I'll just give you the information and you go from there. Okay. I'm going to take that one. And then there's that one. So you can see how to do the after you've done the breathing and stuff like this. Why isn't it working? It will. There you go. Okay, so you're ready to really look at that on a deeper level on your cells. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right, now we're going to move on to autumn. Autumn is your friend here, or do you? You're welcome, April. So, hi, Kelly. How are you? Yeah, I didn't go do my show last week, but usually I'm here every week at the same time for several hours. Miss Autumn. You liked it? Yeah, it's a little different. Miss Autumn. Okay. Now, I feel like I'm touching here, and it has a lot to do with not my third eye as much as it is. So what we have is starting right in here. Oh, I got stuff in my eyes. Okay. And it's a point, a bladder point, and the first bladder point, and it needs to go up and around, down, and then it takes down 4 in the back, and then wraps around and goes down again in 2 all the way off the pinky toe. Okay. So they're pointing out this bladder meridian, and I'm like, okay, so is this what you want? And they said, well, this is where you feel deficient, so the will to do it. So I said, do you feel like you have the will to? And they said, yes, but I can't. I said, is why? And they said, there was like a mental block. So this is definitely something that I would say parents, the people that raised you, and the you can't, and you've also felt that when you went to do something, you can't do it that way, so you found a different way or not at all. And so I asked, did you want me to go the same route? And they said yes. They said they wanted you to look at the structure of the body, and of course these are big ass words. The myoglobin, and the myoglobin has to do, combines with oxygen for stored in the muscles. Deficiency can cause cramping. So it is how the oxygen is stored or not being able to store that. But it is looking at this. I said, so why is that important? They said, because it has a lot to do with her condition. I said, okay, so myoglobin, what do you want me to do? And they said, well, if she were to, okay, they're having me do some things differently today. Not a big deal. This is what usually happens when people are with me in person, but haven't been having people at my house in such a long time. And okay. So I'm going to send certain information to you, and then we're going to discuss how to heal out the particular experiences that you have going on in your life, and to help your body to do its best to release it out of that area, change the story out of that area. And I said, okay, so being that said, they go, notice that, and they want you to do R2S. So R2S, right wrist, second position soft. And it's about being able to ground yourself. They said when you're about 3 months old, what was in the surroundings was people were in their dark night of the soul. There was hysterical, there was distrust, there was worry, there was fear. But the despair that was being carried actually ungrounded you. So other people's despair causes you to be ungrounded. So if you can get that concept of how you know what despair is and how it ungrounds you, then it actually changes the way that you take your in-breath. No, your out breath. So it's your out breath. So it changes the way your out breath is. So it'd be R2S. I said, anything else in particular? They said, pay attention to how it also causes you to not take the action that you want to do. And I said, so about 4 years old, they said that you felt with the limitations you had in your past, you believed that you couldn't do it along with other people. And as you got older, especially when you hit about 23, I don't know how old you are, but there's something about the meridian, the bladder meridian, both sides began to attract in people that would make you react that I have to control my will, or I don't have the willpower, or there's a certain belief system. I can't quite see it, but it's something about it became very habit that I would always ask for help because I believed I couldn't. I've always had to rely independent because I couldn't. And there was always, okay, now I got to figure out how to, because I really want this, but I can't. So it's in the language, it's in this, because you had been taught for so long. And they said that they want you to start doing R1S because it was how you had developed this communication based on how they felt and believed that when you were to take a breath or the out breath, you had to stop and hesitate. And because, so you had to learn to ask, you had to learn to hold your breath, you had to learn to, different ways of breathing. So if you can begin to notice, let's say the person talking to me is no big deal, but you go to talk to, let's say, your father, your grandmother, anybody else, whether they're dead or alive, but you go to do this, then there's actually, there's a conversation of how you know that you're going to talk to them completely different than you talk to me. And they said that you lost a lot of power into having to play that role. Okay. So there's going to be lots of opportunities for you to chances to heal. So opportunities. So your friend, it's okay to say the name or not. That's up to you. I could just put Autumn's friend. But anyways, her reading. Okay. So when you are learning to develop who you are and that you are holding the power to do and what you want to do, and everybody else has fear, limitations in this, and it is for so long you have been taught that you're supposed to give your power away. They know better than you, and they have fear, and that you need to step down and not do all this. And where she needs to begin is they're using the word startled. Okay. And was there a certain amount of words that they would use, like infamous words, infamy, which is you're bad or it's wrong or whatever. So there's a certain amount of words that it would imply that this is harmful, this is wrong, you can't, it's very negative. Allison, correct? Okay. So what happens is that there's this, so I'm going to go do it. Okay, so you're going to go do it. And like when people are like, well, I have a limb missing, I can't do this, or there's something broken, then they're so used to having other people do it. You learn that you can do things. And the beauty of it is that there's people that do things better than people that have all their arms and limbs and legs. But it is in the mental block. And so as you're about, the gate's open, you're about ready to run, and then somebody grabs you, stops you, and you can't. It's just I can't. Not because you can't do it. It's because it's what other people think. And so to begin to help you, Allison, is to understand the language that has been embedded to control you, that it was embedded to keep you safe, the coercing, the pushing, and the body in your mind. So I'm looking at, what am I looking at? I'm looking at how you, so Allison's body will respond when their body, so let's say she's about ready to do something and they're like, they look, or they have a certain maneuver with their body. They're looking at you with that tone. She needs to look at how those gestures are more stopping than the words and the emotions. So it is really looking at these pictures, especially disdain. Okay. Look up the word, write down how you think you know it, then look at the definition, look at the pictures, but the gestures. So this is where I would do sensory accessing. I said, is it just in the eyes? They said it's deep in the eyes, because you knew that you had to behave. You knew. So it's like, oh, so we're going to have you measure so we're going to take one gesture at a time, the gesture of disdain. I don't know if I did it right, but gesture of disdain. And you are going to look at the micro muscles around the lips or the nose or the eyes, or the way their head is, or their posture. And you're going to measure that. So you got the picture and you're like, oh, you could just picture it and they're not even with you. And your body goes, I got to do this. So 10 is high. So you're going to go, it's high. And what happens is then you need to pay attention to this. You write it down, get the feel, notice how maybe your eyes are rolling back in your head, or you're like, oh. This is where you're going to go, okay, I'm going to cover up. I don't care which eye you start with. I don't care what hand you use, but I want you to cover up, but I want you to, so if I'm looking, I'm not going to look at what's in front of me, like this microphone and this camera. I'm going to, this is defocused. I'm looking at the issue. Oh my God, I'm really looking at how they're, oh my God. And if I said, if you don't look through here, see all the energy is coming through here and you're looking and you're like, oh my God, it's a 10, it's 12, it's, okay, remove, transcend, let go, snap, say the words, switch eyes, open eyes, all the energy looks through just this eye at the exact same thing you were just looking at, and you measure it. Oh my God, it's an 8. This one's really high, this one's not as bad, but it's there. Remove, transcend, let go, swap, and do it again. And then you measure, you get into it, and you start noticing a difference. Good job, you're healing. But if you're like, oh, and you're determined that you got to keep seeing them that way to protect yourself, that is different than, oh my God, this is the way I see it. Now you have to pay attention that if I don't want to let it go because I got to keep seeing it this way, it's a different measurement. So you have to write that down. Anyways, remove, transcend, let go, and swapping eyes. The importance is to be able to measure the feeling, the sensation, the pictures of how you know it, especially the gestures. It's like when I don't know exactly what they do, but it's under the word disdained or disdainfulness. And so get to know this part of yourself, get to know that I don't want this, and get it down to 0. And the next time you go to see them, you won't really see them that way, but you may see part of it and you're like, oh my God, I can measure that. Now I notice it's not maybe in the eye, but it's it is in the tone, because it's not just gestures, it's a tone, or is it the tone looking through the face, or what they're thinking. Again, all this can be measured, and if you can keep taking it out of your eyes, you can also take it out of your ears, and then you can pull it out of your body versus how it's stuck there. All right, so Autumn can help her. Okay, excellent. Excellent. How are we all doing? Make sure you give me a thumbs up if you can. Give me a follow. That helps getting the algorithms up. Okay, let's take a breath for just a second or two. And if you are really wanting to use tools to heal, I'm here for you. If you really want to, oh, thank you. And if you really want to shift your life and learn how to become more in charge of your world, not the program part, but your 5%, your spiritual self, getting to know that part of yourself, getting to use your gift of awareness, and learning that you can shift your reality and your perceptions, and you can start creating a healthier life. We have tribal. That is every Tuesday, or well, Monday for some, because if you're in Michigan, and Tuesday for if you are in Australia. I don't know why I use that word. It's not a good transitional word. Just taking this moment, you can change your life. And a lot of people don't understand when you're changing your life, it isn't about, I'm going to try this next. It is to break down the emotional chemical peptide, the way your cells function. It is to go to the root and get to that root out. And it is about changing beliefs. It is about redefining, where did I learn that? And do I need to continue to learn that? Okay. All right. Let's see what we got here. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, so then what we have is Amy coming up. Now, before I get there, if there's anybody that's new in the room that would like a reading, let me know. I do need to charge my phones. The only problem is I took all my cords out. So there's going to be a slight problem on charging. I kind of took them all with me. So I have a little bit of a dilemma. Oops, yuck, mess. And let's see, I hope to God this one works. If it doesn't, first we're going to do is tune this one in before it dies. It's got 5%. Oops, I shut it down. My finger shut the button down. No, come on, pop on. It's frozen. I'm back. Yeah, okay, I plugged it in. It's charging, had like 5%. And I gotta hurry and find a cord for this one. I don't think my husband is with me, but if he is near, then go get the blue cord that's plugged to my chair so I can have that USB cord. If not, I may have to run in and get it because I think that one's broken. I gotta buy me a few extra. And oh God, now this shut down. Oh, come on, come on. Yeah, I may have to let that charge. It's almost at the end of the show anyway. Okay. All right, I'm going to have to go in and get it. So I know that this phone, it was too late. It already shut down on me. So I'm not even going to restart that up because I'm just going to bring Amy on and then probably end the show real early. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to go get the cord. Okay. Let's get this other one plugged in anyway. Makes me wonder if that cord's not really working. Let's find out. I can get this one to work anyway. I know the cord works, but it's that's why it died. Okay, let me plug it into this one. We may have solved another issue. It's not the cord. Okay, that one's charging. So that means if I put this one over here, it could be also the cords. You got some cords that are what do you call it? Charge faster. Now we got to charge. Okay, so I don't know why, but okay, so I got to get a new one. You got two that are coming in. Oh, yeah, thank you. Hey, Mary, how are you? I made it so that it's not so deep. It's actually closer. Okay, now I think I drained my phone completely. It's 0, so I might have to wait. But that one's charging. This is still charging. That one's fine. Yeah. When I went on vacation, I took all the cords and I thought I had brought everything back in, but I learned I did not. All right. I may not charge that one up again. Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, that's no biggie. So let's continue. Okay. So we'll have Amy come on as soon as I get the link. And where are you? There you are. Okay. I like doco series, but some doco series is you have to remember whether it's a media, whatever kind of media, news media, whatever it is, it's all about entertainment. So there's going to be a slant. And so even though I like them, I also don't like them because they will paint a picture that they want you to see for their ratings. And I just watched one. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
It's just been a weird couple of weeks.
So
Good.
that's good, but a weird couple of weeks. Okay. There's so much going on.
The energy is off the wall. Um, it just seems so weird. It's the only word that I can come up with that makes any kind of sense.
Okay. See, so I'm like, okay, with the knowledge that you have, does that affect the way that you're going to respond? It says yes. Okay. So in a way, because the energy is off the wall, do you have to feel like it's off the wall, or do you feel like that's the only answer? And so then again, the more that you learn how to be your spiritual self, you're going to be playing with different set of rules. So then as I'm doing that, I said, so when you were feeling the weird, is it the human or is it the spirit? And they said, it's the spirit. So as you are being that spiritual person, and what it is, there has to be a certain amount of, it's not the word I want. It's not a negative thing. It's like, okay, so if you were to compare it to a negative word, it would be the energy's haughty. The energy is lofty. The energy has a hierarchy. The energy is like here. So you only have a definition from what I can feel is that when you begin to feel how these particular energies are, it can feel like that you want to respond as a human going, oh my God, it is not just weird, but like they're using the word haughtiness. And if I said, well, what does that word mean? It's the quality of being arrogant and superior and disdainful. And they're like, but, what does that mean? So if you were to say arrogant, if you look at the word arrogance, it's a quality of being arrogant. And like, okay, why? So let's take arrogant. But what if you look? It's having or revealing an exaggerated sense of one's own importance or abilities. So have you been able to be around people that have all the answers, or people that, um, you know, because the world out there has a lot to do with the external, which is me, 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 me. And if you've been around this, your sense of who am I? It's not that you can't have an importance, but you are important. And the soul knows this, but you don't have to take and have, well, since I know the answer and you don't, and then you push it on somebody, or so it's completely different. So a part of it is when you are very spiritual and you're doing that, if a person is very negative, they're going to say to you, well, aren't you perfect? Okay. So then there's a challenge of who am I? And being in the world where it's mad at me or doesn't like me, it becomes confusing, because we can believe in the doubt or the seed that is being planted by somebody else's emotions. Have you been exposed to anything in these last few weeks?
I've racking my brain. I don't think I've really actually been in communication with people other than like going to the store.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I,
Since you didn't
other
have a lot of
than,
experience, do you understand what I'm saying, though?
yeah,
That, okay, so I
my
tend to,
show the other night.
the what?
My show the other night with that
Okay.
one girl where her daughter was essayed.
Okay. And so there was this exaggeration of importance from that person and the story with their daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so then as you're explaining to them about tools that could help, you started, what did you begin to feel to start? Because I had to butt in, and I'd like, oh, did I butt in and it's not wanted? And it was Spirit goes, no, she's losing too much power.
Mm-hmm.
And that
And
acupuncture back
I
later.
could, it was, because my human wanted to save both of them.
Okay. So notice how the human part of you wanted to save.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would you say that on a soulful level, did you want to save? And they go, your soul knows it's not about that. But you were relating to, oh my God, this is going to slip through my fingers. I don't want them to be in that hell. And I know that these tools work, and I really wanted
Mm-hmm.
to. So as I'm looking at this, I said, were you do any form of exaggeration of importance? They go, no, I was feeling that I was deficient. I was going into that mindset that I'm not
Oh
going to
my
get
God,
across to
yeah.
them. Okay, I'm not going to get across to them. I'm not, I don't want, so if I ask, I said, so what is that human aspect then? And they said that human aspect is that I'm supposed to worry.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it comes up to play that to be human and to have communication and to have relationship is that I'm supposed to show worry as love.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't show worry, then you look like you're a cold-hearted, person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not true. But you will have a different way of carrying yourself. This is why I said what I said. I said, stop, she can't hear you. It wasn't trying to insult them.
No.
It's just that it was me, 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 me. And I noticed that it was a conversation that was going, conversation's fine,
Mm-hmm. But it
but
was
it was
going the wrong
pulling,
direction.
yeah,
It
and
was
it was
pulling me
pulling you
in.
away from your desire and purpose to do your show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, do I let this go? Now it's me then saying, I know what's better. I'm just going to tell Amy. Or is it, should I say anything at all? Because, um, you know, maybe it's not wanted. And that's doubt. And there are times that I'm in certain relationships where all of a sudden I will just step up. Do you need my help? And they're like, stop taking over. So you have to understand there's different inflections.
Yeah.
So when you're learning to be this soulful person in a human world, it's not about doubt as much as to go, oh, Mary says, oh my God, I'm going through it. Okay, so she's aware of, so the conversation, so somebody else is going through this too. So I asked Spirit, what should I do? Spirit said, well, you need to, because Amy looks at you for help and guidance, and she's not going to see that you're insulting her because you're not. She's going to see it as, oh, wait, okay, yeah, it's about redirection. And I'm not in charge saying, Amy, so Spirit says, just say it. Because you were not just bleeding, or losing power. She was also sucking power. Even though it was subtle, it was me. But so I said, so what is it why is this coming up? And they said, well, it has a lot to do with the way we define love is worry. Your soul is going, well, where'd my happy go? Well, you was, so here is the lens of life. Here's your ego. So your frontal lobe is saying, I'm spirit. And ego is in front of you. So I'm going to have it like this. Ego's in front of you, and it's electromagnetic guiding omniapparition lens. So you went with old programs. So your first, second, and third chakra went, I heard SA. We're not saying it out loud, but it's something that happens to a woman, some form of assault. And what happens is that all of a sudden you over-identified with matter. So you began to put it on, and spirit was over here. It could, you weren't even in the observation mode. So let's just throw spirit out of the way. Now you've over-identified with matter, and you are going, I got to save them because that's the right thing to do. I've got to do this. So then you're taking on their karma. But it was like, so when I was looking, here you are, and this is their world, and they were pulling you in, and you got drawn into, and now you are meant to give because you got to save them. She's glad someone's hearing her. So everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a reason. They didn't want a solution. Because they kept saying, oh, well, you already have the solution. They're seeing the therapist. So what was the importance of coming on, getting you all riled up to fall into, oh my God, I got to identify with matter, and I've got to save this person? What was the purpose? Well, one of them, your end, is that you had to show up no other way than you could, because when her signature appeared, you were supposed to show up that way. And this is the only way you knew how to show up. So when I look at that signature of what you're losing power to, and the signature has a lot to do with, they said the words in the correct way your parents or somebody else would say. But you respond the way you know.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So we want this back. And this has to be out here so that you can look through it and go, oh, okay. So I said, was there anything that really needed to be healed? And they said, well, it's a part of you that believe that it's like the right thing to do. This deficiency issue. It's not even deficient, but for you can't save them. So it's deficient. I see a need, and if somebody don't step in, that's just wrong. You need to step in. Where another person will look at a perspective and goes, no, let them work it out. Or, well, now you got controversy and fighting. No, you should do something. No, you don't stop. So your personality was that they always had to make you worry.
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
And so that there was a triggering topic. There was always this thing. And when you are learning to be you and not go into the dramas and the traumas, it's not that you don't love. It is, I don't have to believe every story or my old patterns. I'm here for me. And you're going to learn it's not selfish to focus on healing you. Okay. Your existence of having and being love and all of this is not about how many people I can help. And then while I take it, while the well runs dry, you need to put that oxygen mask on first, but you also have to change certain belief systems. So when somebody has an SA, you're like, I know that experience. This is what we should do, blah, blah, blah. But what I came in after, so I don't know exactly how long that person was there. I have no idea what brought it up. But how did they talk? So
it was the me. It was, I could feel that she wanted someone to save her. I could feel that. And she was probably there maybe 5 minutes before you popped in.
Okay, so she comes in with her own worry, fear. I need saving. I need help. I need this. I need that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go, okay, so you take your expertise, you're talking this and this and that. And then all of a sudden, I watched you not be your spiritual human self. I watched you drop that spirit, go into the ego part of yourself.
Mm-hmm. I felt that too.
And it is, when this signature shows up, I have no choice. I have to show up this way. And that is what you're healing, is this scalar part right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but it's in the talk. I said, is it in the tone? It is in the deficiency. Again, looking at the word deficient. Somebody needs help. I can feel that need. Now, this goes into how when I love somebody, I study everything about them, and whatever they need, I will fill. Now, again, you didn't know this woman, but the signature was old habit of they need something. So notice the drawing in. Now,
it was a vending machine, and that button was just this freaking big, and I hit the dang button.
Right. Now, let's look at it this way. Remember when I pointed out to you your cute littleness of how you couldn't let go? And so there's this energy. And I said, notice that we're supposed to say bye 20 minutes ago, and it's still not ending. Can you feel that draw? Can you feel that? And it's like, you're like, oh, so now you got another perspective. Somebody's doing it to you. You're feeding them, which is fine, but it keeps you from doing what you need to do next. And it's so subtle that now you gave your pen away to them. Here.
Yeah. Shit.
Okay. So to become a spiritual human, which means when you stop over-identifying with matter, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and you start to take and change the way that your mindset is, your spirit comes in place and it can look. Now, you are usually, when you do your shows, you do your best to stay in spirit and you look at the lens and you can help define it. But in this case, a lesson had to be had. What does this mean? It means that you didn't. So I'm not going to say this part. So did you feel, think of the 6 S's: safety, security.
I didn't feel any of them.
You didn't feel safe. You didn't feel secure. You didn't feel stable. So you didn't feel any of these. So in the feel, you became this, and her story became your story, and it triggered how you know the story, and it's familiar. And so I said, is there more to the root that needs to be healed? And they said, not necessarily. It's the believing that I am deficient and I couldn't change it. So this reminds me of how I was pinned down and raped And so when I went to karate class, the instructor that was taking care of my kids come over to me because he watched how I completely fell apart. I did not think I fell apart, but he was able to observe me, and I'm way off in the corner in this cafeteria with tons of people and all the kids out there and even adults that are doing karate. And this person walks into the room, and I apparently fell apart. Now, while he's got everybody doing the routine, he comes walking over to me, squatted down so nobody else could see him, and looked me in the face, and he says, "You need to take your power back. You just lost to that person that just walked into the room." I'm like, "What?" You would benefit a lot taking this course. My mind's going, "Oh, he's just trying to get money," and all these excuses. And then but my heart knew. So I signed up. He says, "You can have the free class today." He says, just come over. Just come over. So I did. I was scared because this person's going to be watching me in front of the class. So time now has gone on, and now I don't care less because now I'm learning how to manage my energy and all of this. And it came to the point we were talking, and so I whispered in his ear because it's not something you let kids know, SA stuff, And so I whispered in his ear. He goes, "Oh," he says, "Okay, so notice how you were fearful and couldn't move. You froze." And I said, "Okay." And so I explained to him, and then he says, "Now you're going to be the predator, and I'm going to be you." Okay. So, and he goes, "Notice how fear will paralyze you, but I want you to dig deep and notice that you are not fear. Okay. You're just saying no." And then he says, "I want you to put your arms down, kick your knees up, and kick, and he goes, and so I'm like, I couldn't comprehend this. So he says, so he got down, I pinned him down, and thank God there was a mat there. And my ass went flying across over his head. And he said, "You want me to do it again?" I go, "No, I think I got it." He says, "Now," he says, "you have to do it to me." I'm like, "What?" He says, "That's fear. I want you to say no and take your power back." And so I'm pinned, and then I just went, "Wow!" And I did exactly what he told me to do. And he went flying. He says, "That was good. Feel that power behind that." No. Why do I tell you this?
Because that's what I needed to do that night with calling my energy back.
Yeah. And no matter whether it is some type of assault and abuse or whatever, or if it's just somebody that's just feeding off of you. No. We are afraid to say no because we're going to get punished. We're afraid to say no because we're going to get rejected. We're afraid to say no because they're going to hurt you. Or you're afraid to say no. Why? Because you care. Why? Because you care. But you don't know her from Adam and Eve. And you care. You don't want to come across as someone that doesn't care.
Right.
Because the words that people say, "Oh, you're just heartless." The damage when somebody calls you nasty names. We don't want to be called.
No, we don't.
But learning the power of no. So it's like, so when I confronted you, I did it in a very spiritual way of doing it. And you're like, "Wait, what?" And you had no idea. But that's how you survived. And then as soon as you saw it, you may have felt small or whatever, but there was a part of you spiritually is like, "Why am I doing this?"
Mm-hmm.
You thought that's how you love. I said, "No." And so who are you now versus who were you then? Tell me.
I can love without being drawn into the story, and I am able to hold my power a whole lot better than I could have even, say, 3 years ago.
But you also, yes, and also, I don't need to do that form of gameplay. You didn't even know it was a gameplay.
No, I did.
You just thought it was love. This is how you do relationships. And I says, no, this is actually creates karma.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about this? Think about it now. You haven't done it, but you know how it was done.
Mm-hmm.
You beating yourself up now or anything? Because we don't want you to
No.
do that. Okay. And you're starting to realize, well, I don't do it now.
But I think my body is. My body is doing it. And it's been doing it for probably a week now.
Very good. That's probably why we started off doing this today. All right. So let me look at my big juicy book here. And
And it's about security and safety because I am not able to relax ever since I had surgery with the sling. Even with the sling on, I cannot relax my arm.
okay. All right. So with all this being said, Spirit, why you brought it up, where do you want me to go? And for you, it's in the blood too. And so it's the IgE. Okay, give me a second. I gotta locate it. So in your blood, there's a story going on. Now, IgE and the immunoglobulin E appears in the exocrine secretions along the IgA. So it is associated with allergic reactions and can cause severe inflammation, even up to anaphylactic shock if necessary. Not saying it, not trying to put that into you, but your body is saying, I have
No,
this.
there's been a lot of inflammation the past, well, since I had surgery, there's been a lot of inflammation, like 10 pounds worth of inflammation in my body.
Okay. So when I look at this, it is to do with mental. Okay. So it's the thoughts, not necessarily the emotion, it is the thought. And if I say, okay, if this is what's happening, the body, these particular thoughts are like parasites. So what happens is that it lives in your head rent free. They take
Mm-hmm.
over and they cause this inflammation, this reaction. I says, what kind of thoughts? What can you give me? A fear, a lot of fear, a lot of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, so if we're looking at the fear, they go, um, they're using the other word as invading. And I said, so is this inside fear from a program, habit, habit? So there's a habit. Is it the vending machine? Not necessarily, but it is also somebody else's definition, somebody else's beliefs, somebody else's stuff. I said, okay, so when you were around 5 years old, you basically were taught some certain habits, certain fears, certain things. And it was always very much invading energy if you did it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And when you done it and it was right, they still saw it as wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where I'm going with this?
I think so.
So when you're physically in the space doing something, the mental part says, oh, I'm doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's an invasion. So if I said invasion of a particular person, they go, it's just about deficiency. It's the first thing that you're supposed to do. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. I have to go through that. So when you think of deficient, when you're about ready, because you can't really use that arm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's exciting is that like, oh, I can't climb a mountain, and then I did it, and I was so proud of myself. Oh, I can't fold a sheet. I can't put water in the thing. I can't. And then all of a
And
sudden,
I've
it's
done
like,
them.
yes, and then you now feel good, but there's the story beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So they said you even hesitated to the point where you already knew what your mom was going to say because you did it wrong, and it's not in this case. It's like if I go ahead and do this future thing that I want to do, how many people are going to come out of the woodwork and tell me it's wrong? You know that you're preparing, but the fears of others have been very much interfering with your capabilities. And they said that it is part of how their energy, it's invading and coercive that it just takes you into becoming that little girl.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And they said that when you go to do little girl healing and you call her forth, notice it's in the habit and the auto response. And if you can begin to wake up to this, I'm deficient. I'm supposed to be deficient to get love. Did you hear that last part?
Efficient to get love.
Okay. So you are growing and growing and growing. But you're supposed to be helpless because you're a woman, and a man needs to feel important. So let him, or do you understand? So there's some old stuff here,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to do with the scalar field of communication and relationships. Okay. So they're telling me that when you begin to notice, so what's been this whole conversation has to do with energy, of how it is like it's meant to pull you. It's supposed to trigger you. It's supposed to make you align to particular behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And how easy it is for you to not know it.
Yeah, it is. It's so subtle.
Okay. And they said that there's a part of you that it's easier just to become the object in a relationship.
Makes sense, yeah.
Because they're just going to reign anyway, right? So there's
Mm-hmm.
helplessness, there's this deficiency. So the question is why do you keep hooking yourself up to that? It's like they always use the images, why am I hooking myself up to that? You know, like I'm the boat and I'm hooking myself up to that truck. Why do I have to be the boat? Why can't I be the truck?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's who I am in this situation. So they're saying that there's a part of you that have so life markers that you're working through, but there's a part of you that feels that you just don't want to deal with the wrath of their hysterical excess. You're like, oh, you just know that you touched a button and now they're going off, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to do it. So you're wrestling between being your soulful person and your human self. You are healing and changing the ego program so that you can learn to be the spirit part, observing, but you also want to heal it so that you stop over identifying with matter and you are going to be your spiritual self. So you're living in these two particular worlds. So there'll be times you forget who you are as a spirit. And the thing that you keep repeating is that there's this overcompensation feeling with particular people, not all. Before it would be all,
Mm-hmm.
but it's only with certain signatures. And you got to appease those because they're asleep or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And you're like, oh, I just don't want to do this anymore. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes perfect sense.
All right. So I said the whole point of today was for you to spell out to you so you can see it. So you don't have to be self-conscious in front of them because you become very self-conscious. And that self-conscious causes you to feel that they're being very coercive, that you are the same pattern as you were as a kid. And they said when you start to really begin to feel it, they want you to do R2S. Okay. And so when you're healing, you can say, okay, I'm ready to heal my blood. So in this case, for you would be, you think IgE, blood, and then you just start healing the feeling, this I'm self-conscious, so I have to limit my words or limit my expression, or because now it's like they're coercing you, they won't shut up, they keep repeating, but with the energy, not necessarily with the words, because they're sculpting. Their words could be totally something different, but it's like you can feel them.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. We got a lot of rain, and Walnut Grove got like 7 to 10 inches. So the town was flooded. And my cousin that I stayed with when I had my teeth done, she sent me a text. Are you guys flooded? Did you? I'm like, I sent her a picture of my driveway where there's, a little puddle, out in front. So it was like, okay, this is her way of showing love. She's worried about me, but she doesn't need to worry about me. And then I went out. We only got like 2.5 inches here.
Okay. And the thing is that do we need to be those programs? Hers, you realize you don't have to worry
Mm-hmm.
because worry makes you needy as well.
Yeah, it does.
And you've learned that you don't have to worry, that you could hold space, and they haven't learned that yet.
No.
And so you've learned that if you hold space and if anything does bad happen, then you don't have to go into fear. You can go and or into longing, worry. You don't have to make it about me, 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 me. You can go, I'm going to be faced with that because I'm doing this human thing. But at the same time, I don't need to respond that way either.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're so used to believing that we have to be a soap opera.
Yeah.
Or soap opera. Yeah, you're like, no, I don't need to do that. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
Okay, so that was enlightening.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me and for pain and all of this. So we will see you in Tribal tomorrow.
Absolutely.
It was good to see you. And
Good to see you too. Welcome home.
Thank you. What is this? Oh, what? Oh, never mind. There's a new word in the down list as I'm about ready to move you, and I'm like, what's all that? Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right, love you, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, bye.
Love you too. Bye.
Okay. So now I'm Vicky has also paid, and Vicky, are you here, hon? Is there anything particular that you would like me to go into? I feel like you want me to look at your immune system or your blood or that particular story. If that's what you would like, let me know, Vicky, and that I know that you're present so I can give you that. So, this new healing tool, it's not new healing tool, it's something that I've done for years, but to go ahead and allow to teach it, it's coming to the surface. It's just taking a few minutes or so. Okay, so I don't know if she's here yet. Give me a couple more seconds and we'll see. I'm not sure if this thing is charging. No, because the light is not. It's got to be the wrong cord. Well, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, it's still dead. All right, I have got to go find all my cords so I can get that phone to work. Maybe I'm on a delay. Let me see if it's correct. I'll refresh this. That's what I'll do. Is Vicky here? Vicky, ooh. What did you do with it? Oh. I don't know what I did. Here we go. Okay, so how do you know if they're in the room? Because see, there's sometimes a delay. Some people will watch the video and they don't realize that they haven't, they're like, the red bar is not at the end. The red bar may be in the middle. All right, let me just read. Let me see if there's anything specific. Oh, she's here. Yay! Okay. Like I said, if there's anything particular you want me to look at, let me know, because what I'm looking at is that what you're getting treatment for. I said, where do we want to go? How to help this? Ooh. So there's a story. Okay. So we're looking at the lymphatics aspect. Yes, I have mass in my neck. Okay. Well, this would probably explain why they went to lymphatic and to tonsils. They went to tonsils, and I said, the one thing about tonsils, it's really important that it helps you. It's like the first defense mechanism when you take something into the mouth, and it's really misunderstood. It's something that you kind of need. So if I looked at this mass in your neck, okay. So let me just going to read. It creates a confusion because now I'm stuck in this confusion, even though I don't have to be. It's like I can't help but to be. So I'm looking and I said, so this neck, in this neck, the duct, okay, acts as a duct to deliver toxic lymph fluid to deliver toxic fluid to the throat to be swallowed and act by the stomach acids. So is there an interruption there? So there is. So the tonsils are not really working like as they should. Do me a favor, because right now, the energetic level of the tonsil area, do you have your tonsil still? Is that they give me a certain body part, and again, there's different ways of reading energetically about this. It's like it's not working to full capacity. And I said, okay. And they said there's an emotion that, like you've had to swallow your pride so many times, you've had to a particular emotion. And I said, is it negative? And they said, yes. They said it has to do with panic, and you have a certain amount of panic. No, you do not have your tonsils. Okay. But there's panic. And they said that what's happening here is there's a disrupted electrical flow. Said in trachea area. Okay. I'm looking at how everything is meant to function. Okay. And the energy is not functioning. So I said, this panic that's here, they said this root of this panic is about 7 years old. The next age that is the reason why it started building this area is around 29 years old. So these two particular things, and when you look at that first age, it is where you were startled. The second thing at 29 is that you were startled. And so you have panic and startled. And panic and startled, and this is you looking at the outside. I'm panicked and I'm startled. And what happens is then the energy is not. I asked, is it which particular meridian is there? They said, well, the stomach meridian is the huge because it's not really grounded. So the stomach meridian begins here, comes down around, okay, comes down like this. So it goes right through the throat area, okay? And they said the energy of the stomach, is it going in the correct direction? Left one? No. Right one? Yes. The left side? No. And so it's going the opposite way? Yes. So you have, instead of them going down, one is going down and the other one's going up. So you have, they're counteracting each other because of the panic. Now, as I begin to look at this, the stomach, this has to do with relationships with humans, other people, and how aggressive that they can be. So can you relate to panic? Can you relate to relationships that are very aggressive? Can you relate to the 7 and 29? I'm just going to wait until she answers. She's also a tribal member as well. And so this is important that she be able to really relate to this. So she's been more open to understanding the way that I speak. So we want to kind of correct the Yes, I can. Okay. So I asked Spirit, how do you want to help? And they said, well, the SP can help in some degree because it has to do with how the, you felt deficient when the panic is coming in. So is this a fresh panic? They go, not necessarily. This is a deficiency that she knows. Okay, so deficiency she knows. Um, so just follow along because you know this is important. We need to get this one working. They want you to use your magnet on the right side. Okay, and so this will help the two. So the left and the right side. So you have a left and you got a right stomach meridian. You have always two sets of meridians, even though the stomach's down here, right? But it's the meridians. So we want to use the right side. We want to go down to the right foot, and we want to use the magnet, your hand or another magnet, and it's that point right in the middle. Okay, so it's just before the curve. It's right there. Okay, use your magnet 24 times, 12 on each side, and then push down and deeply rub as best as you can. Now, you may have to do the magnet thing a couple times because your body has always been in this panic that the stomach meridian cannot connect to Mother Earth to create the heartbeat to balance the body. So the panic has caused part of you. And I said, what side is actually disconnected? And it is the left side, but we got to get the right side to not hold. Because when you're in a certain stance of protection, you will watch some people if they I think it's the right side that when you're engaged with somebody that's being aggressive, you will literally not want to be open. So sometimes people will turn their body in to protect themselves from that energy blow. Okay, so once you're done with that, let me know, and then we can because I'm looking at the electromagnetic, and right now both of them are kind of stunted. We need to get the electrical flowing again. So when I'm watching this, is the heart is very electrical, and so I said, "How is the heart and stomach connection?" And I said, "Is there one?" And they go, "No, that's part of the problem." So you want this electrical current because you are electromagnetic energy. Okay. So what I'm seeing is that you, to protect yourself, there's fight, flight, right? Well, there's fight, flight, freeze, and there is a going into passive, or it's going into collapse. And I feel like you, instead of just being frozen and can't move or disassociated, I feel like there's a collapse. So a part of your body just said, I need to shut down. Now, this can be very hard on the body, because if the body is taught to shut down, then you're saying I'm heading out. I'm heading. Your body needs, the cells need to be open. Okay, so does the age 29, does it trigger anything for you? Because this is huge, because how the outside treated you and then how you feel towards yourself, it's like you took the blame. Even if you did it, you took the blame. But even if you didn't do it, you took the blame. The point is that the way that you talk to yourself, I feel like somebody messed with your head, kind of gaslit you, so you would take the brunt of everything. And so it made you doubt. So at one time I had a conversation with somebody, and they were mad. So they went into their defense, and I could feel this. You had a house fire. Oh, that would do it. That could do it. Oh God, yeah, I've had that. Okay, so the house, I won't even go into my story. House fire. Dad left at 7, and you had a house fire. It was at 29, or is that also at 7? Because they're showing me that your vibration inside when it came to relating to my identity, my house is gone. And that can be a shocker because your things are in it, your identity is in it. And how you would feel familiar every day, it is now unknown territory. And one of the things is that it's in relationships. So who can you be in a relationship? And I feel like they kind of dictate whether or not you have a good relationship. So when I'm seeing these things, and I said, overall, you brought these up, where do you want her to begin to heal? And they said, well, we have to get her to get the stomach thing to rebalance herself, because she keeps going into, the body keeps going into, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do this. I can't do this again. I can't. Okay. So that means that the root needs to be addressed. And part of that root is that the outside makes you be deficient, where you don't know how to cope, handle, deal, process. I can't process this. The fire. I don't have any programs that helps me to process this. Dad leaves. I don't have any tools to help me process this. Okay. And so if you were to look at those two particular ages, I want you to begin to hold R1S, because I don't know how to process. And therefore, yes, it happened, but it is being so far thrown off who you are. Again, I'm watching how one part of your body is grounded, the other half is not. So did you rub your points and do the magnet? And if so, we have to build it up, because you were just at a 0. Now, to get it at a 10, you may have to do the magnetic and the rubbing at least about 5 times. But you have to begin to recognize when the body fell off, and when you get it to be balanced in the brain and it'll start to balance it out. We want you to start to notice. Now, notice how they found something in your neck, and you're like, fear, all of this, I can't process this. The neck, again, has a lot to do with relationships and how I can't have a voice. I can't process. I can't. Does this make sense? And it is in the believing that I don't have the tools and I can't. And so you're over identifying with matter at this point. And again, when you start to rub these points and you start to do the healings with success and all that, we want the spirit to live in the frontal lobe, even when the body is going through heaps of hell issues. Okay. Let's see here. Where am I at? You're in the wrong. Yes, I am. Okay. That's very interesting. Okay, let's get to where I need to be. And see, it's so hard to talk like this, but hopefully you can understand more. So this is where you're going to have to really help the body, because that energetically, yes, but you also, the amino acids are off. These are the building blocks. The minerals are off. There's many things that are out of alignment, but it is, from my understanding, for you, it is this panic. So before we can even, so when you start to work on panic or startled or any of this, notice how, okay, you got to look at how your face and your body and everything, you're going to start doing a lot of R2S at this point, okay? Because the body is you move forward and aged, but the body is going, that the body, to get the mass in your neck, it can't just begin overnight. It has to be, there is always a root at some point to where it begins, if that makes sense. Now I'm looking up and I'm hoping I can find it. And tonsils. So the metaphysical meaning for tonsils is expressed expression anxiety. So if you had, let's say the tonsils were a little wonky, they were overactive or whatever, this particular part of the body is saying that I have a lot of anxiety. I know it's already related to certain to do with the panic, but you're constantly living in this fear of expressing yourself. So you have to swallow the effects that they can't have what they want, causing an irritation, a frustration, and anger. So if you feel like you can't, you have to just swallow it. You can't say anything, you can't, or you can't have what you want, you just have to swallow. You can't. So there's expression. We're looking at this. And when, again, it has a lot to do with panic, a lot of I can't process, a lot of I have to swallow, a lot of things of how people react to me. And it's like they got to coerce, they got to force, they got to do this, they got, okay, so R2S. We really want to begin to work on that stomach meridian, because we got to get them both to work together, because they have to work in sync, the two halves, but they also then have to work with their buddy partner, which is spleen. And if we're constantly living in this fear of I can't, if you're running into I can't handle this, I can't, then I also want you to do R2D. Yes, that's how I lived as a kid. Okay, so we know that root, and over time, this is the result. Now we want to heal backwards so that we can support the body so that it can go back and heal. Okay? All right, I'm holding space for you. You got this. You are whole. You are blessed. And the body knows how to heal. So again, let's work more on removing the panic, the anxiety, the I can'ts, because the spleen and the stomach need to work together instead of it being clogged. Because as I'm looking, you must have done something, because I can feel this flow. Can you feel the difference? And then if you keep connecting and healing, what's happening is the spirit's going to keep giving you the answers. And that's why you're probably in tribal, is because you know you can get the answers. Now we just have to help you heal here and heal backwards, and then to repair and to build. Okay. All righty. I think that is the show for today. And we will see you guys into tribal tomorrow. This was a good show. I missed you. I'm looking forward to actually taking this new healing tool and see how I can make this more of my own so that I can provide it for all of you. But the energy still, so I'm playing around, I'm waiting. And Spirit will say, go, and Spirit will say, sit. And it's like, oh, just let me go. Let me just do this. No, timing's everything. You're already blessed in your whole. You already are. Just remember that. Hashtag, use these to help you come back. Hashtags, next stepping stone. Oh, yeah, I got this. Hashtag, resolve to evolve. I need to resolve this issue so that I can evolve and stop doing this life lesson. Hashtag, heal instead of just deal with this crap. Literally learn to use tools so you don't have to deal anymore. Okay. Hashtag, when in doubt. Oh my God, I'm doubting. That's a seed of doubt. Oh, I don't want that. Heal it out. When in doubt, heal it out. And if don't waste it. If you're in a life lesson, don't waste it. Stop. Become more spiritual. And instead of wasting it, paste it. Meaning, put your hand on your head, use EFT, whatever tools to get you back. And hashtag, no matter what you do, begin and end with always. Whether you wake up and go to sleep, whether you're doing healing or asking help, hashtag thank you, Spirit, and thank you, Miss. Oh, you got a different name. Oh, that's cute. I like that. You're already blessed. You're already whole. So stay blessed and happy healing.